Level 1, misdemeanor offender. You have turned 22 years old, and the heavy cell doors have closed behind your back forever. A minor prank near a gas station at 2 o'clock in the morning ended in a swift arrest by your county police. A police officer named Sergeant Miller processes your personal documents very quickly and very confidently. He takes your fingerprints, takes a photograph, and takes your wallet containing $50. The sheriff is by no means an evil man, but he is completely indifferent to your first fear. He asks about your first arrest in life, although in fact, he knows the correct answer very well himself. You nod your head quietly in full compliance, hoping to be released as early as the next morning. The law enforcement officer turned out to be right, as you are released on $500 cash bail. In the morning, you are already sitting in your own kitchen, drinking coffee, and recalling the night's events. An event that seemed like a nighttime disaster turned out to be ordinary routine for the local state police department employees. This is the very first important lesson that no one explains in advance before your first arrest. The huge state system was not afraid of you at all because you were the only frightened person. You received an official fine and a court summons requiring a mandatory appearance next month. The 5-mile road home seems incredibly long after this terrible night adventure. Sheriff Miller has already completely forgotten your name while booking the next offender in his blue office. Your private car is waiting in an impound lot 30 miles from your cozy wooden house. Regular tow truck services cost $250, making this incident very expensive. You look at your watch, which shows 7 o'clock in the morning, and try to calm your nerves. The first experience of being behind bars leaves a deep psychological mark on the mind for years. Now you know very well how quickly an ordinary mistake changes life in modern society. Level completed. Before we jump into the next tier of the simulation, drop a subscribe so you never miss a new story. Thanks for being here and watching now. Let's get back to it. Level 2. Repeat offender. Now you are already 25 years old, and you have found yourself in the familiar office once again. The second charge is related to a fight near a local bar where you drank 3 gallons of beer. You are booked by Officer Harris, who carefully studies your personal file before starting the interrogation. He sighs and notes you're another return, as if making a regular entry in a work notebook. The patience and politeness from the first level have completely disappeared from the behavior of all employees of this institution. Now you are searched much more thoroughly, forced to completely take off your shoes and raise your hands up. The officer looks at your new documents and rates the probability of the next crime very high. You are not really a dangerous criminal yet, but you are already known very well here. A familiar name significantly changes the overall atmosphere of any communication with the guards in this prison. Officer Harris checks your cell twice as often as the neighboring one, where a completely new prisoner is sitting. This happens not because of new actions at all, but because of your past recorded deeds. A criminal record completely deprives you of the right to the presumption of innocence even before the trial begins. The amount of your bail this time is already $2,000, which is heavy. You sit on a hard metal bed 6 feet long and count the hours until dawn. The officer records your every word in a special electronic tablet for accounting all detained citizens. Your cell measures 8 by 10 feet and seems significantly smaller than before. Your lawyer will cost $500 for 1 hour of work, which will hit your family hard. You understand perfectly well that the system has begun to closely monitor your every next step. Every movement you make causes additional suspicion among all experienced employees of this police department. This is a story about how very easy it is to lose public trust after a repeat offense. Level 3. Drug distributor. At 28 years old, you were arrested with a large shipment of illegal substances weighing 5 pounds. This new charge transfers you to a completely different prison block with thicker doors. Here, the guards study your behavior as carefully as meteorologists analyze the movement of a dangerous storm. Detective Warren conducts the interrogation in plain clothes, making notes in his large notebook. He asks many questions about accomplices and the addresses where you lived for the last 5 months. You keep silent because an internal instinct tells you that any names will only worsen your situation. The detective puts no pressure on you at all, but calmly continues to write down every minor detail. You are placed in a unit where searches take place weekly due to the specifics of your new offense. The duty guard explains that this is a check due to crime statistics, not personal animosity. During the first month, your cell was turned upside down twice, but nothing illegal was found. The guards lift the mattress and review every page of your 3 books very thoroughly and carefully. Detective Warren meets you in the hallway and expresses mild disappointment at the lack of any evidence. You say that you have nothing illegal, but this does not change the regular schedule at all. You realize that you are being watched closely because of possible future actions of other criminals. You have become just a new dot in a large data table that existed long before you. The possible prison term under this charge can reach 10 years in a maximum security prison. Your lawyer demands $10,000 for their services to handle the case in court. Your family tries to urgently raise the necessary funds by selling a car and other valuable property. Every day in this block passes under the strict supervision of video cameras and armed guards. You understand perfectly well that your life has completely changed forever due to one wrong step. Level 4, armed robbery. At 31 years old, you were convicted of robbing a store using a real gun. The fact of having a weapon completely changes the attitude of all guards toward you during transit. Now handcuffs are tightly put on you every time you leave your dark cell. You are constantly accompanied by 2 armed officers, and all doors open only via radio contact. Corporal Davis explains that strict handcuffs are necessary because of your past choice, not his mood. You want to tell him about your trembling hands during the robbery, but the corporal does not listen to excuses. The case files contain only dry facts, not your remorse or attempts to rethink things. All privileges are reduced, and walks in the fresh air last only 40 minutes, 3 times a week. Corporal Davis manages the block with dry precision, giving clear orders in a steady, calm voice. You learn to move very slowly, keeping your hands in plain sight so as not to provoke force. No good deeds over several months can erase a single line of your case file. Your bail has been revoked, and you are awaiting sentencing in a cell measuring 50 square feet. The official court sentence is 15 years of imprisonment in a maximum security federal prison. Every visit from relatives takes place through thick protective glass using a special corded phone. You see your mother crying bitterly during a 30-minute conversation. The loss of freedom for such a long term becomes the hardest ordeal in your entire adult life. Every day, you count the days until the first possible parole after 10 years of imprisonment. Corporal Davis repeats the exact same instructions daily, making them part of your daily routine. Bright orange prison clothes serve as a constant reminder of your new status as a dangerous prison inmate. You understand that the heavy gates of this institution have closed behind you for a very long period. Level 5, gang member. At 34 years old, you received a new sentence for a severe gang-related assault. Your connection to a street gang changes the guard's perception more than the new charge itself. Every conversation in the yard is recorded, and your contacts are checked through a special electronic database. Lieutenant O'Connor maintains a map of connections between prisoners, which is updated weekly in a closed office. The exact distribution across cells is a calculation designed to isolate you from certain gang members. Some prisoners leave this block after a day, while others remain for their entire term. The lieutenant explains that he transferred you to Block B to avoid any gang conflicts. You claim that you no longer belong to the gang, but the lieutenant believes only official records. The guards control not only your daily actions, but also your influence on other people. You have turned into a variable that needs to be controlled on the cell block map every day. Sudden searches are regularly conducted in the unit with the involvement of K9 units and specially trained dogs. For any violation of the rules, you are sent to a strict solitary confinement cell for 14 days. 1 day in solitary confinement feels like an eternity, and poor food is served through a tiny slot. You see other gang members trying to pass encrypted notes during yard walks. Lieutenant O'Connor intercepts most of these notes thanks to an experienced informant network inside this prison. Your family receives threats from rivals, forcing you to constantly worry about their safety. Your lawyer says that the chances of early release are 0 due to your gang status. You spend 23 hours a day in a locked cell without the right to make a phone call. Letters from relatives undergo military censorship and reach you with a 1-month delay. This level of control destroys any remaining traces of your individuality, turning you into a mere number. Level 6. Organized crime leader. At 38 years old, you were convicted of racketeering and leading a state crime organization. Now the guards closely monitor not only you, but also everyone else around you. Every visitor undergoes an additional background check before receiving permission for a visitation. Your mail is read in detail by a team of analysts looking for coded messages between the lines of text. Phone conversations are recorded and monitored by specialists, not just stored on facility servers. Warden Costello calls you for a private conversation in a closed office without guards. She notes that she fears your ability to direct the organization while behind thick prison bars. You say that you have lost influence, but she emphasizes the necessity of strict preventative control. The habit of commanding forces you to give instructions to other prisoners during the daily yard walk. The guards notice this and log your every word in a special monthly report to management. Your phone list is checked dozens of times, and every pause in a conversation is carefully analyzed. You are no longer just an incarcerated man, but an entire headquarters requiring strict isolation. All your bank accounts are frozen, and property worth $1 million has been confiscated by the state. You move around the facility accompanied by 3 guards and under the sights of several digital video cameras. Warden Costello personally signs every permit for items or books to be delivered to your cell. You understand that your influential past has become your greatest curse within the walls of this facility. Lawyers try to appeal the conditions of confinement, but the federal court rejects your legal team's complaints. Neighboring prisoners look at you with respect, but you feel only loneliness and isolation. Every day is similar to the previous one, consisting of severe restrictions and constant control. The system does everything possible to completely neutralize your potential influence on the outside world. Level 7. Murder conviction. At 42 years old, you received a final sentence for murder with no right to appeal. Maximum security mode means that the word temporary no longer applies to your life. You move accompanied by 3 officers under the continuous surveillance of many modern digital video cameras. Captain Richards says that he trusts no one in this building, including his own subordinates. You realize that trust was completely absent at all levels. But before it mattered, the doors open only on the condition of simultaneous confirmation by 2 officers via a special electronic scanner. Food is served through a narrow slot in the door, and walks take place in isolated groups. Captain Richards retires 4 years later, and Corporal Dietrich replaces him. The new corporal adheres to the same strict rules with the same cold and indifferent expression. You have 30 years left to serve, and the system continues to work regardless of the change in personnel. The cell has stone walls and an iron bed bolted tightly to the floor with heavy bolts. You see sunlight only through a narrow window measuring 4 by 20 inches. Newspapers reach you with articles about criminal events in your city cut out. You completely forget what green grass looks like outside the high prison fence with barbed wire. Corporal Dietrich checks your pulse during the night search, making sure you are still alive. A medical exam takes place only once a year and lasts no more than 15 minutes. Letters from old friends stop arriving, and you are left alone with your thoughts. Year after year, time loses its meaning, turning into an endless gray stream of days. You realize that this old cell will become your final refuge on this earth. The system demands only your execution of established rules and complete obedience until the very end. Level 8. High-profile offender. At 47 years old, you became a public figure due to numerous convictions and media attention. You are kept separate from the general population to avoid information leaks and new scandalous publications. Officer Marsh is assigned to document your every step, not just to supervise you. He records every meal, phone call, and visit, creating a massive archive of inspection documents. The officer explains that these records protect the institution from allegations of staff brutality. You understand that such documentation also protects you from actions on the part of the guards. You have turned into a legal liability that needs to be carefully documented daily according to instructions. Every guard works with you, keeping in mind potential judicial review of your high-profile case. Journalists constantly send requests for interviews, but prison management responds with a refusal every time. Your name is mentioned in political debates as an example of the need to stiffen penalties in the state. You live in a high-security block where every step is monitored by several independent systems. Officer Marsh fills out forms without looking up, executing his work with maximum precision. You get used to living inside a paperwork report, just as other people live in an ordinary routine. The food weighs exactly 16 ounces, and the calorie content of each lunch is calculated by experienced nutritionists. The walk takes place in a closed courtyard measuring 20 by 20 feet under strict supervision. Lawyers visit you once every 6 months to sign routine formal court papers. You no longer feel emotions looking at the new pages of your endless prison file. Press attention gradually fades away, leaving you in complete silence and strict documentary order. Officer Marsh hands over the shift to another officer on duty who continues logging your detailed daily record. This life is transformed into dry statistics and endless reports for state regulatory bodies. Level 9, National Security Threat. At 51 years old, you were transferred to a special facility due to terrorism charges. Federal agents control the conditions of your confinement using special secret national security protocols. Only 9 prisoners are held in the block, served by over 40 personnel of various ranks. Agent Callahan visits the facility twice a year to inspect the compliance of actual conditions with reports. Your mail is analyzed by intelligence specialists, looking for hidden meanings in every written word. Visitations take place behind thick glass, using state-of-the-art audio recording equipment. Young Guard Pruitt quietly asks about your repentance during unrecorded seconds between camera angles. You stay silent, because you know that even your silence will be included in the classified report. The guards no longer make decisions regarding your case, serving merely as a visible means of control. Real decisions are made in Washington offices by people whose names you will never know. You are in complete isolation from the outside world, without access to news or radio. The cell is equipped with motion sensors and constant infrared lighting for round-the-clock surveillance. You can walk only along a line marked on the floor that is 24 inches wide. Agent Callahan looks at you without any emotion, verifying the execution of strict government directives. Guard Pruitt never asks unofficial questions again, fearing the loss of his secret job. Your life belongs to the state apparatus, which sees you only as an abstract national security threat. You count the seconds between light pulses on the ceiling, trying to preserve the remnants of your sanity. Every day is an exact copy of the previous one, without the slightest hope for any changes around you. You have reached the highest level of isolation that the modern penitentiary system of the country can create. Here, the human personality finally dissolves into the soulless mechanism of the state machine of human control. Level 10, Absolute System Control. At the 10th level, you become the subject of experimental lifetime surveillance in an underground state bunker. This level represents the absolute peak of the development of human control technologies in the nation. All 10 levels demonstrate how a human gradually transforms from an individual into a digital category. On the first level, the sheriff barely looked at you, but here an entire system analyzes your breathing. The path from a minor infraction to complete isolation shows the unforgiving logic of the penitentiary apparatus development. Every officer from Miller to Callahan was merely carrying out their clearly defined job instructions. They did not create this system themselves, but they ensure its uninterrupted functioning day and night. This makes the system not just strict, but completely understandable and predictable for society. You sit in a cell measuring 100 square feet and observe the operation of the sensors. Your heartbeat is recorded by sensors, and the data is transmitted to the Central State Prison Management Server. You no longer have a name, but only a 5-digit number in the state electronic database. Meals are served automatically through a special hatch, according to a strict schedule exactly 3 times a day. The temperature in the cell is always set at 70 degrees Fahrenheit for your constant comfort. You have not seen other people for 5 years now, hearing only the electronic signals of this system. If this detailed overview changed your perception of the system, share this important video with people. Subscribe to our channel if you value high quality and deep content about American prisons. Every week we reveal secrets that most people can only guess about in life. Our team works to show the real state of affairs in the penitentiary system. Thank you for your view and support of our independent educational project for American citizens. Leave your thoughts and comments below this video to continue our common discussion.